So this was a kind of a strong design in the wrong place. It was drawing too much attention to itself. There were a few problems with it, actually. And we're working on fixing that now. I was using more raw umber. I wasn't using any yellow ochre. So I've touched in the tree trunk so far. So now I've added a little bit of cobalt blue, yellow ochre, hint of raw umber, and white. And I had this, high values running right off the edge of the canvas. Bad idea. I know better than that. Still, sometimes I'll push my luck and see if I can get away with it. Because sometimes if you get away with it, it turns out well. So we've just kind of kept this a little more interesting. It's not quite as smooth now, the trunk. It's got a little more variation. It appears to have a little more texture. So I like that better. And obviously, the very obvious thing is I brought the sky right around here so that even though this tree is in the foreground, it's not quite as punchy. It doesn't overpower this anymore. Now yes, it's in the foreground, but it gets lost a little bit in the distance, which is really, well, it's much better. Have quite a few smaller leaves here. That's okay. You have that on trees, and some bunches are larger and some bunches of leaves are smaller. I may end up adding a bit of cad yellow to a couple of them later, but right now it's quite wet, so I'm not going to bother. Yeah, put a little more light on these distant bushes here. And this dead trunk, it's just kind of an odd thing, but, I like it. Let me back the camera out a little bit here before I continue my blithering. Okay, that tree on the right. That tree on the right. This trunk. I added a little break. I wanted to break this line up a little bit, so I put just a small dead twig left over of a branch sticking out there. I hesitate. I wanted to put more light on it. I put a bit of light on it. I don't want to have too much more light because what we'll end up with is a light post, a light colored post, a high value post, and another one with an outhouse, too much dead center between them. And this isn't enough to help offset that. So I'm going to leave that the way it is. I'm happy with that. You can see sort of, it's up looking up a rise and bit of a distance. You see sort of an indicated tree line in behind here with the purples. Now, let me bring this up because I'm going to need it higher to see what I'm doing. And move the camera at a little better angle for you guys. That's really not very good. I think I'm going to move it to the other side of the canvas. I think sometimes you get more glare with the camera sitting here, but you also I'm able to bring the canvas a little more parallel to the surface of the lens, so that helps as far as viewing the process is concerned. Okay. Yeah, I think that's brought this all into order now. Put a little more light in here. Little touches all over the place. That's why I haven't taken you with me for them, because another one of those occasions where I'm standing up, sitting down, standing up, sitting down. But what I'd like to do now is, it's one of those paintings that if you back up 20 or 30 feet and squint your eyes and look at it. You want the general design to be okay. I still like this dipping effect. This is a hill. In general, I'd like to oppose it a little bit with this. So I think I'll take a little more of this light and bring it more into the snow in the foreground a little bit. So let's grab a little bit of ultramarine blue and some more titanium white. Yeah, a little bit of yellow ochre. It's a little colder than I would like. A little more yellow ochre. How's that? I don't like this black streak sitting here like this either. Just doesn't do it for me. That's still very blue. Yeah, more yellow ochre. And actually, I'm just going to put dip a couple of hairs from my brush into the raw umber. Yep. Okay, that got rid of the blue and took some of the attitude out of the chroma. Raw umber is a great modifier for things like that. Okay. What you're looking at right now is not me finishing, putting the final strokes on. I'm not considering what I'm doing right now to be finished as I go through it. I'm, well, I always like to say I'm bringing it in hopefully in the right direction. We're moving things in the right direction. That's really all we're after right now. So I'd kind of like to bring a little more light, not dead center. I think maybe a little bit to the left. Maybe a little bit to the left. Let's just poke that in there and see what happens. Bit of light shining through the shadow of the trees which are behind us and on our right. I don't want too many sharp points there. It begins to look a little too foreboding. So foreboding, it's almost five-boding. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am a father, as you know, and I have these ridiculous jokes in my head. The ones where you can see the punchline a mile away. Please be thankful that I don't laugh at my own jokes, so there's nothing worse than that, laughing at a bad joke that you make up yourself. Having just been New Year's Eve, I imagine a number of us have heard those kinds of jokes and been in those situations with our families and what have you. Okay, before I cause too much division and hatred, I'll just be quiet about that. All very blue, all very blue. I'm trying to warm it up with a bit of green. If I were to use cobalt blue, it would become very green. This is ultramarine blue and yellow ochre. A hint, just a slight hint of raw umber. Up here is cobalt blue. Now, they're far enough apart, they pretty much look like the same color. They're not. there was a question in the comments from somebody asking why, for example, I would use, I guess, my color decisions, and it's very taste subjective, you know. It's cobalt blue is a great color, but I don't always want to use it, and it's really got so much to do with what you've already got on your canvas. You get a feel for it with experience. That's really what it comes down to. There are a few sort of general ideas, guidelines out there as far as which colors are best used, which are not. But those aren't written in stone. You don't need to worry too much about those. Okay, I think I like what's going on here. I think I'll even do that. It's getting not a lot of paint on my brush now. It's not loaded very much. Not loaded with very much at all. Almost a scumble. Almost a scumble. All right, I'm gonna get up and stand back and have a peek at that. Yeah, that's improving. It's yeah, as I say, very much heading in the right direction. You know, regarding that question, how do I make my decisions to use, you know, one blue or another blue, or you know, to stay away from greens? I don't have greens on my palette typically. Sometimes I'll put a little bit of Viridian green on and use it, but rarely. You know, my decisions are based on there are individual reasons for individual colors. There are no sets of reasons that apply to all colors. Viridian green, I find, easily gets kind of garish, and frankly, although it certainly has a lot of good uses, and some people use it very well. For my own taste, for my own paintings, I like making my own greens, because if I only make my own greens, I can play. It seems to be that I can more easily play with subtleties, and I can make them warmer and colder, and do all kinds of things. Yes, you can do that with Viridian green as well, but Viridian green is a high chroma, strong green. So, you know, everybody has their own taste. Don't do what I do just because I'm doing it. And but I like to mute things a little bit. I don't like, it's kind of a balance. I'm afraid of becoming garish on the painting, but at the same time, I like strong color. And I've seen, I know some people who use a lot of intense high chroma colors very successfully. And I admire that. It's something I strive for. Not on every painting, but for some reason it seems as though on a smaller painting it works better for me. I know that sounds almost counterintuitive, but that's how it is. Okay, you know, this is, I think looking at it right now, here on up is pretty good. I need to finish this down here a little bit. I need to I don't like that curving down. You know, this black mark coming around the trunk like this, that's great if the trunk was right at your feet, but it's still far enough away and it's slightly below eye level, so I shouldn't have such a strong hook. I can come across a little more horizontally in places. That's for later. Okay, this will not be a challenge because I know exactly what you see when you look into an abandoned outhouse. We all know how they're built. All right. Well, I guess what I need to say is Happy New Year to all of you. Hope you had a great evening. And I wish you all the best in 2024. Talk soon.